So I was diagnosed last year with Lynch syndrome after having several different kinds of cancers. I came to Huntsman up in Salt Lake, the University of Utah Huntsman Cancer Center in Salt Lake, because I needed answers. That was the main reason we came up here. I had 3 daughters. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was passing on to them. And we did some genetic testing, and they found out that I had Lynch syndrome. So Lynch syndrome is basically, as I understand it, kind of a gene mutation in around your colon. And it causes several different kinds of cancers. There's some lymphomas, ovarian, gosh, I can't remember all of them. There's about 8 different kinds of cancers that they've identified with Lynch syndrome. And I've had a few of them. And I was actually very thankful to find out that I had Lynch syndrome, because it did give me the answers that I needed. It's done by a simple blood test, a DNA blood test. And in the past with my other cancers, it was really only, they would test for one kind of gene, and it always came up negative. But as a 51-year-old woman having my 4th kind of cancer, I knew something was wrong and I needed answers, so I came to Huntsman. They test across the board 39 genes, which once they do that, then they can identify Lynch syndrome. So what happens is, my understanding is, you have a little round cell. Each of your cells has little V-shaped receptors. Someone with Lynch syndrome has more V-shaped receptors than normal. Also inside your cell, there's a little protective lining. So if something goes through the V-shaped receptor, it will sometimes hit that lining and kind of like bounce out. With people with Lynch syndrome, they don't have a strong lining. So not only do you have more V-shaped receptors, but they also can, impurities can get in there better, more easily, and start dividing and multiplying and cause different kinds of cancers. So that's kind of a rough, how it was explained to me that happens. And so knowing that means that I am very susceptible to lots of different kinds of cancer. So I was told that it is all in your genes. I have a personal belief that there's a lot of cancers in our environment because of our food and the way our food's grown, and our environment. Basically, there's lots of impurities in our environment. So I think it makes us more susceptible to cancers. But someone with Lynch syndrome is more susceptible than anyone else. So if you have Lynch syndrome, you have about an 80% chance of contracting some form of cancer, some of the atypical ones that they've identified. So my youngest daughter, when she's 25, she will start with a colonoscopy every 1 to 2 years. She will do mammograms every year, her gynecological exams every year, that kind of thing. Just being aware of your body, being aware of what's normal for you, and being careful with your body. So each one of my cancers have been stage 1 or stage 2, which is great, because since I was 27, I've been very aware of what feels normal for me. And if something's not normal, then I push and find out until I know what's going on. Having the diagnosis of Lynch syndrome was actually a blessing in my life. It actually answered the questions that I had. It alleviated the fears that there was nothing that I could do about what I had passed on to my children. So if you have Lynch syndrome, you have about an 80% chance of contracting different kinds of cancers. Any children that I had would have a 50-50 chance of having Lynch syndrome. So I have 3 daughters. My youngest has Lynch syndrome. She's 23. She was not entirely happy that she found out she had Lynch syndrome, but growing up with a mother who had all these different kinds of cancers, my daughters knew how important it is to be checked and to take care of yourself. So she was relieved in a way to know that she had Lynch syndrome, because she knew through early detection and preventative care that she stood a really good chance of catching her cancers as early as I have been able to catch mine. My other 2 daughters were sad for their sister because they knew what she was going to have to go through, but they were very supportive, and they assured me that they would take care of her and make sure that she was okay. So it is a blessing to know, because then, we can stay on top of our health care, and we can stay on top of the tests that we need to do. So the opportunities of early detection are much, much higher when you can do that. And that I'm very grateful for, instead of, waiting around to find out, what's going on.